Hello YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make epic pads and drones for your tracks. So here I have an initialized preset of Serum2, and I've also got a 8 bars long MIDI note. For these kinds of things, you could do a chord or you could add a fifth. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to stick with the fundamental, which in this case is F sharp. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to generate a wavetable for our main oscillator. And I'm going to do that by using a sound that is very accessible to anyone. I'm sure that you guys have a hi-hat lying around somewhere. If you don't, I also have a tutorial about how to make hi-hats from scratch in Serum. That's what these are. So I'm going to just use this one. And let's go with one of these FFTs. Let's go with the 2048. And we've got this nice messy wavetable here. Remove all except selected. I'm going to turn this into a lot more smaller waveforms by going into the All tab. I'm going to go resize tables to be half. And I'm going to do that a few times. And every time we do this, the frequencies will be getting lower because each cycle is less dense. And then if I do it again, and then one more time. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the All tab once again and go normalize each gained separately to get a consistent volume across all of our waveforms. I'm going to go ahead and just remove a couple of these. I'll remove that one. Maybe this one here looks a bit interesting. I don't necessarily need that one. And these two here, I'm going to just remove those. And this last one here, I don't think we need that. So now we've got a bunch of different waveforms, and I'm going to go into the morph option and go morph spectral. You can also do morph crossfade. You'll get very similar results with that. I'm going to drop it down an octave, and we've got a nice smooth waveform now. So that already sounds sick. Add a few unison voices, maybe 7. Less detune. Before we even go any further, I'm going to go into the mixer track and I'm going to add on a high pass filter and also a reverb. This is going to get the sound into drone territory immediately. Might just reduce the decay a bit on this reverb, take it about 10 seconds. Let's get some movement onto the wavetable. So I'm going to go with a sample and hold, set it to smooth, and a nice low unsynced rate. I'm going to get it even slower than that. And then we need even more movement on this thing. So I'm going to go onto one of the warps and I'm going to go with either the bend or you could use mirror or something like that. These will add a nice little bit of movement. So I'm going to just clone this random modulator, maybe change the rate slightly and put that on the bend. And then I'm going to add a distortion here, and let's go with one of the ridiculous ones, maybe something like the linear fold. This is going to add a considerable amount of harmonics, and I'm just going to make a little LFO for that. The clip is 8 bars long, so I'm going to just make a 8-bar envelope here, and I'm just going to have it so a few moments spike up with these extra harmonics here, and that is going to affect how it feeds into the reverb. That is substantially too much, so I'm going to just go onto the sine fold and have even less on value. Let's have a smaller spike here and less of this. So that's just giving us a nice bit of textural change. I might even add another little spike to go even higher at the very end. Something like that, maybe a bit tighter. Another thing that I'll do is I'll attach a cutoff filter onto the same modulator so I can have it open up for when we have those bursts of harmonics. In fact, I think this last one is too much. We don't necessarily need that. We've got quite a nice foundation going. I quite like where this is sitting. So I'm going to just go ahead and add a second layer to this. And I kind of want this to be more of an atonal layer. I'm going to do that by utilizing a triangle wave and an obscene amount of unison detuning. I'm going to crank the voices up here, go into this little gear icon, and I'm going to up the range to 48. That is going to make it so there's a considerable amount more voices. And if I just mute this first oscillator, we'll be able to hear what this is doing. And it's got all of these weird atonal harmonics that it's generating. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just have a modulator on the detune here. I'll use the first sample and hold, why not? I might use the second one actually because it's just a little faster. Bring back the first oscillator, and I'm just going to turn this one down quite a bit. And then I'm going to bring the octave of this one up a bit, a couple of octaves. Excellent. I'll put that in the filter as well. And then I'm going to have it so that comes in and out with another sample and hold, why not? And then bring the smoothing up and just have it so it drifts in and out with the volume a bit. And then I might have a bit of FM from the main oscillator, phase distortion from A, and have that on one of the slow LFOs. Wonderful. And then I'm going to have a macro that applies to the cutoff itself, so I can manually decide if I want to have more cutoff. Right, and now to make this a bit more analog feeling, I'm going to add a little bit of noise. Let's just go with the white noise here because it's got a built-in filter, which means I can just high pass it, put it in the low pass as well. So we're just restricting the amount of noise that's actually going to be in the signal. I'm going to make the stereo quite wide, so we've got a nice wide noise layer that we can just mix in to our sound. Which will give us more density and more of an analog feel as well. So I'm going to go into the matrix now, and I'm just going to assign a little bit of pitch drift by using LFO 5 on the global main tuning, one semitone, and that's going to be going both directions. And then I can make a shape that is something like this, which means that we're only really drifting out a few cents at a time. And I'm going to set that to 3, once again an unsynced rate, and have it something slow, 0.4 maybe, why not? And then in the effects, I'm just going to apply a little bit of embellishment with some chorusing. Let's just set up some delay times and mix this out a bit more. I'm going to set it to high pass mode. Anything above 1K can get chorused. Bring the rate down a bit. So we got a nice slow drifting chorus. And then let's get a bit more movement in here with an EQ and some notch filtering, because that is always a satisfying effect. I'll just assign the frequency to a couple of different sample and holds here. And then let's get a bit of a flange going on. Let's have it on a slow rate, reduce the depth a bit, and I'm just going to mix that out to about 20%. Let's add a phaser as well. Bring the poles really high up. Let's just reduce the mix of that quite a lot. Play with the depths a bit. Let's just have a bit of movement on that phaser frequency. And then hyperdimension for even more widening at the end here. And that is a very satisfying drone indeed. So what I'm going to do now is add a bit of delay onto this as well. This is on dotted eighth and ping pong. And then I'm going to just constrain the frequency of these delays to a bit higher up in the spectrum. And keep it mixed in quite high and give a good amount of feedback as well. Wonderful. So that brings me to the end of this video, and hopefully that demystified the process of creating drones. If you want to support the channel, you know how to do that, and I'll see you on the next video.